All right, all right. Good morning. This is the Weekly Jargon. I am Jose Rodriguez.
And Rohi Zachariah.
And today, Rohi, we have a pretty good episode talking about the global markets, right? What's taking place right now, especially with tensions that are taking place abroad. But before we start, I wanted to first apologize for last week's meeting. I know we had a special guest here, Supervisor Poitras, talking about the gas tax and a successor to the gas tax. And I think for the first 5 minutes, we lost some video. But if you did get an opportunity to listen to it, the audio was pretty good quality. I think you would be able to get a lot of the gist of what we're talking about. But moving along, Rohi, talk to me. What's going on? What do you see here locally? Again, we talk about the global tensions and geopolitical issues that are taking, especially with Iran. And we're starting to see some of those effects take toll here in our community.
Yeah, I mean, driving on the way here, passing the gas station and seeing, for instance, diesel running up to $6 now, and like you said, I mean, you want to say, something that's going on so far away, like it's almost shouldn't affect us here, but it's already seeing that gas prices are going up, cost of goods are going up, and I think, again, at the end of the day, it's taxpayers and people, the groceries and everything, they're going to start seeing, things that gas goes up, well, then the cost of delivery goes up, and then, you starts just creeping up. So I'm kind of hoping our region won't have too much of a shock, as you say, but I'm kind of fearful that it may be that way.
Well, one of the things that we notice is that the Central Valley is uniquely exposed to global shocks. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because we drive more miles, right? Mm-hmm. More than most people here in our region in California. Our economy depends on fuel, agriculture, water, shipping. So we have high percentages of working class families living paycheck to paycheck. And sometimes I think that's what people don't see is how does that affect us here? Well, again, we have our goods, right? Housing, food, energy. You talked about gas prices. And again, we were just talking about that because people are very sensitive to any increases to any taxes and what have you, right? So we have local industries like almond, dairy, pistachios, and all those are tied to global trade. So just imagine if things stall, then obviously that becomes a problem for us. Yeah. So when we talk about these geopolitical tensions, I think Central Valley feels it the hardest, although people may not see that, but we do here because a lot of these people are the people that are working to export to global markets, and those global markets now look like are being affected. Now, let's talk about here locally, though, in Madera, for example. You tend to put in the gauge first and kind of measure the temperature of what's taking place. Talk to me about what's going on. I mean, you get all walks of life coming to your store, so give us some.
So the talk the last couple of days, obviously, now we're in tax return season. So it's, I guess, I want to say a false sense of where the economy goes because, I mean, I know even going on with the city council and seeing like how our tax, revenue, like March and April tend to be one of the spikes. And then you got December, there's a spike. So, I think you're still going to see that. We're seeing that at the shop. I mean, people they're buying and they're buying, I would say, more than normal. But it's the caution isn't there to say, well, wait a minute, you got that couple extra $1,000 in your pocket, don't blow it one shot. I mean, it's great for business, and I'm like, hey, yeah, great, I'm glad you're spending it at my store, but like they're not too many people that are future thinking to say, maybe I should hold a few bucks back because this is going on, or things are going to start getting a little bit more expensive. It's more the excitement of I got all this money in my pocket and I don't know what to do with it, so.
Yeah, and I think the consumer behavior that a lot of these folks have is once you have it in your hands, let's go out and spend it, right? And that's kind of what the trends are, right? We look at our housing, we look at goods, and we look at sales, clearances, everything that you see. When are the biggest movements of people wanting to, take advantage of these things, right? And markets know, hey, tax season's around the corner. Let's start putting some stuff out, advertising vehicles, maybe housing, any goods or products that you can sell. This would be the time to do it because this is when people have the money. Yeah. Now, When they don't have the money, then they go for credit. And this is where you see a spike in credit as well. And this is towards the holidays, end of the year. Hey, I'm making it through. This is the fourth quarter. I'm almost there. Let me go ahead and just spend this last bit of money that I don't have. Right. Yeah. But yeah, and like you said, I think for us here in the Valley, we have some of the highest, we have the highest gas tax that we have, right, at 61 point some cents per gallon. And I think, you know, the majority of people here in California, more so here in the Central Valley, have to drive longer commutes. And a lot of times it's because of the industry that surrounds us, right? We have to, you know, go out to these areas like industries like agriculture or maybe other jobs that may be out in the Bay Area. But again, people are commuting in gas guzzlers, you know, a lot of times because these are less expensive, right? People that have the EVs, well, good. I mean, that's good for you. You're saving some money, but nevertheless, the cost of energy is still up there. Well,
and I want to say, I wonder, and I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I wonder if we're going to see, especially now that we're kind of out of the cold, you know, gloomy days, a rise in like the electric, you know, motorcycle or moped or whatever you want to call them now, but more people adopting that, knowing that it's electric, so there's no gas. You know, I can get probably from my home to work still at the same speeds because a lot of them still go relatively fast, and more so to say that, I mean, in other countries, I mean, it's more common to have motorcycles and small bikes than it is to have cars. California, we love our cars, but I wonder again with gas prices coming up, if maybe the younger generation you're going to start seeing, forget the car, forget my big truck, and I'll go buy these electric bikes for, you know, a couple $100, and I'll just zoom around town, and maybe also further impacting our street issue, you know, because now you're going to have more street usage that you're not collecting a tax on.
Yeah.
But people are going to adapt. I mean, they're going to have to come up with ideas, because we, you know, having this conversation with one of our followers, you know, trash can kicker, you know, he drives a big giant pickup truck, and, you know, I keep having that conversation and say like, hey, at what point are you going to break and say, you know, I'm ready to buy that more efficient car or even an all-electric car, because it's explaining like you have a finite income, and if you want to have more money to spend on the things you like, you're going to have to start looking at what's taking your money, and gas is a big part of that right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to get a larger part as the prices go up.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you touched on something that people, even though they know it hurts their wallet, it's hard for them to change that behavior and say, you know what, I'm going to go from a big truck 4x4 down to like a Prius, for example, right? It just doesn't quite go there. And that's no different than that person that likes to smoke, right? Pack of cigarettes may have been $4 at one point, but now they're hovering closer to $13, $14 a pack, especially if you want something more premium.
Yeah.
And you could imagine if you're smoking that every day, then obviously that's going to cost you a bit more. But, you know, staying here locally, one of the things that I do notice especially with bikes is I can see that. And as a planner or sitting on the planning commission there, Rohi, then it requires smart planning, because the majority of jobs where people may, and this is me just saying, may want to consider taking their bikes are going to be more of your government jobs. But, you know, industry or industrial jobs that are outskirts of the city, then you may consider a bike, but again, that may be a longer stretch for you, right? But anything that's within our city, again, government buildings and what have you, downtown or wherever you're at, then I can see someone saying, you know what, today I'm going to take my bike. You and I think we live, you know, less than a mile, right? So I'm sure we can walk it, and we can certainly start using bikes. And I think we may start that trend. I mean, as council members, I think we should start a trend, maybe not necessarily saying this is something that we'd like you to consider, but I think we lead by example. And if you get a bike, Rohi, don't be surprised.
I have a bike. I just don't have the electric bike yet. I've been very close to get that electric bike, but I do have my bike.
Don't be surprised that I may come right behind you and say, you know what, if Rohi can do it, why not?
That's going to open a whole another industry thing, because to get from my house to work, I got to cross the dangerous bridge on Granada there. That's right. I don't want to die on. So if we could fix that in the city, then
create a different bridge for bikes, right?
A different bridge, exactly. But anyways,
So not trying to get too off track here, but even the markets today, right? For example, I'm looking at the Dow Jones and what it experienced
Yeah.
went from 50,000 down to 47,300. Not sure if it's recovered. Obviously, that's deteriorated some of the bond market.
Yeah.
What does that mean for us in housing? Well, it means that rates continue to worsen, and we hope that they bounce back to where they were 2-3 weeks ago prior to this conflict that's taking place. Now, we can get into the conflict, and that would open a whole different door. But
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
we're just talking about how these geopolitics affect us here locally. And again, when we talk about housing, goods, and energy, I mean, those are the ones that hit home the most, right?
Yeah.
And so if you do have a 401k and you looked at it, you're probably going to get a little depressed. But from experience, I can tell you that markets typically bounce back.
Yeah.
Don't do the mistake that many of us have done in the past, and that's, hey, I'm going to react to the market. I'm going to go ahead and pull everything out and wait till the market gets better. Because frankly, sometimes it's a period of days, it's a period of weeks, but for some reason the market continues to bump up. And a couple weeks back, I think we were record high, right? Over 50,000.
Yeah.
We broke that mark. So if there is a correction due to this conflict, know that we will bounce back here, hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And again, you're hearing it from me. This is my opinion, but I've seen this happen historically, so that's why I'm giving it.
And I think so. Traditionally, that it's no different than like when we talk about the gold prices and when do people buy? People tend to buy when it's going screaming high, and then when do they sell? They start to sell like crazy when it starts to dip. Instead of doing the opposite. Like this morning when I woke up and I saw, these huge dips, what do? I put my extra cash in, knowing that it's gonna rebound. It's gonna come back. So these were buying opportunities where, like you said, a lot of people were waking up this morning going like calling their broker or getting on their accounts and saying sell, get out, and no, hold on. Like, yeah, you lost a little bit, but we're not in that direness of like the sky is falling,
For some reason, though, Rohi, I think people do feel like that. So through this segment, we also want to provide you some of our experiences and what we tend to do when we want to hunker down, right? So we have a list of them there, Rohi. I'm not sure if you can kind of go through them, but if not, I'll start off.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
you
No,
can
go
kind
ahead.
of go there. But if you see any of that stands out, please make sure that you do. So part of the deal, especially when you see these types of hits to the local economy, is to build the household resilience, right? And what does that mean? That means that you have an emergency fund. And a lot of people may not believe in that and say, well, how the hell am I going to believe in an emergency fund? Well, let's just break it down. At this time, we talked about refunds, right? Refunds are coming in. They're coming in hot. So like Rohi had mentioned earlier, is maybe out of those $1,000, or for every 1,000, maybe you want to set aside 250. It's not breaking the bank. It's just saying, hey, maybe I'm going to need this money here for a longer stretch. Why don't I save this money? It's not like we haven't been through this before. If you recall, back when COVID came in, we couldn't spend that money.
Yeah.
And we had to hunker down a little bit, and we were getting these checks, or at least for the most part, some people were getting checks regarding the I forget what the stimulus. Yeah, the stimulus, and that was for you to save some of that money and store some energy for later. Reduce your high interest debt, right? And avoid panic selling. I think we talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Avoid panic selling. Roy, what do you want to add there? What's next on the line?
Preparing for your higher fuel costs, and that's something again traditionally with California, because we have to switch to that special blend to save the world. That costs more, and once that's coming in too, that's going to compound those fuel costs. And trying to consolidate your trips, kind of plan things out. And I hate to say be a Californian where we just love our driving and I'm just going to drive. Just kind of think, hey, I'm not going to do my 5 trips today. I'm going to try and do 3, or I'm trying to just figure out my plan first and then go at it. And then carpooling. I mean, that's something that you see, it was a big thing for a long time, and then it kind of died out.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that come back. But again, California, we have this mentality of we get these cars, these big cars, and it's a me only mentality. I'm going to sit in my car. I'm going to drive from A to B. I want to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it, not realizing that Jose left at the exact same time, going to the exact same place, plans to come home at the exact same time and place, and not realizing that we can cut down a lot of that. And
Yeah, and,
You
and
know?
there are some organizations, Calvans, for example. I sit on there as an alternate, and that is a carpooling or a van pooling
Yeah.
state agency that helps, especially if you have a large group of people going to the same place, and that avoids again
Yeah.
trying the necessity of trying to take your gas guzzler, instead going in one vehicle, 10,
Yeah.
15 people going to the same place. So, for example, if you were all traveling from Madera and you're all going to the Bay, that's a way to get that in.
Yeah.
And getting those vans is not a problem. It's just a matter of having the demand for it. And that's the problem. Here in Madera, I don't think we have demand, or maybe because people just don't know that we have that service available. Not through the city, but we have that through the state.
Yeah.
So it's pushed, a lot of it is done south of here, Tulare County, Kern County. They use that a lot for ag. But we certainly can start applying that here in our communities if we have the demand. Again, maybe one rider wouldn't necessarily wouldn't provide us that, but I mean, if you
Yeah.
have more than 5 to 10, then I think it starts really making a difference, or you can cut back.
And I would say something like along those lines, taking your kids to school, like again, that consolidation, but realizing like there was a time period where, you didn't just take your kid, you were part of that carpool of like a couple of families coming together, and, your parents would rotate and take the 3, 4, 5 kids to school for you. And again, like that's something that may have to come back. I mean, again, I know it puts a strain because we don't sometimes all get ready at the same time, and we're late and we're doing whatever. But if you have that discipline to say, hey, look, the bus is leaving at 7:45, have your kids ready, have them meet here, and we'll just take them all to, the same school, because again, you live in the same neighborhood. That means they should be going to the same school. And not realizing also the things that come with that. Well, that means less traffic. Instead of 5 cars dropping one kid off, you have 1 car dropping 5 kids off. So, when you want that reduced traffic around town during school time, this is another way that you can see some added benefits. Now, as we make this planning, it's a flashback to what we just talked about last week. This sounds like grand plans, and all of a sudden we start doing this, and guess what happens? Less tax revenue because we're not selling gas as much. So
we kind of work backwards, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we want to find solutions for the issues that we face here in the Central Valley, but sometimes we forget that we may shoot ourselves in the
Yeah.
foot 10, 15 years down the road, right? And that's
we encourage people to spend less.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah. And I mean, and again, I think that's how media works, right? Is like you said, I think we try to shape people to think more individual, not so much community. And a lot of times, what does that lead to, Rohi? Well, individuals are buying more.
Yeah.
And that's good for that business that's selling that product, right?
Yeah.
But never really thinking about like, well, how do we make our communities a lot better, safer, smarter,
Yeah.
planning, all those things. Those things don't come into mind too often, or at least not in these days, right?
Yeah.
But moving right along, what other things can we do to hunker down? Well, you want to budget for higher food prices. So
Yeah.
if those of you that shop at Costco, Sam's Club, maybe buy in bulk. Maybe this is a time you want to buy in bulk while the prices are still low. We went through this thing with paper towels and toilet paper.
Yes.
And I mean, it's crazy to think, but people were behaving
oh my gosh, erratically.
and that was because they thought that they weren't going to have anything to wipe their
There's
rears.
things called a bidet,
Yeah,
but
exactly right. So again, but it caused
Yeah.
that panic, and people were rushing down. And I'm not saying this is a time to panic. I mean, we don't know how long this geopolitical thing's going to last, but
Yeah.
let's assume that there is something that happens and it stalls certain products and or goods. Then slowly, don't go out there and buy excessive where, I mean, 2 or 3 years down the road, you're gonna say, man, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Right. Instead, gradually increase. Maybe if you bought the one roll of toilet paper, maybe buy that second or half of
Yeah.
it, right? And then just kind of see where things go. Freeze your produce, right? A lot of people, as produce becomes affected by energy prices and what have you, you start seeing a cost, especially when they're not in season. And last but not least is shop locally, because this is where prices are probably more stable than they are out in the when you go out and shop, like in these bigger stores. But anyhow, these are some of the things that we want to bring out. Rohi, what's next on the list there?
Staying informed. I mean, again, it's I think right now with AI, it's crazy. Like, it's really tough to believe, even with this new conflict. You see both sides and the propaganda and the information going out, and depending on your news source and their feelings and their agenda and how they want to spin stories, like it can really influence your thoughts and your feelings. And again, it causes that panic. Now, I've heard for many years, I hate to say that's besides this podcast, because we're very informative.
Correct.
The news sources
right.
tend to be more of a driving force because panic does many things. Panic drives sales. So if we're in an economic spin, then it's the news's job to make you nervous and scared to do what? Buy more food, buy more gas, buy more stuff. Same thing with COVID, like bulk up on toilet paper, like buy all these things that you realize maybe a year down the road, like, I really didn't need any of that. Why did I do this? So again, and just avoid kind of like, that doom scrolling. Like, people will tend to now spend more time going through those videos and they know it. I mean, it's an algorithm that knows how to get that addictive mentality, how to get you one more minute, one more scroll. Because not a lot of that is going to show you like the happiness. They're not going to show you, the warm and fuzzy feelings. They're going to do what they're designed to do, which is invoke fear and panic. And if people can kind of avoid that, I think that's going to give them more stability in their life, but also more happiness. And we've always talked about that, those happiness episodes. And when people are trying to figure out, why am I so down and depressed right now? Like, what are you taking in? Are you taking in this daily thing of like the conflict and what's going on and, the sky is falling? Or are you like focusing on the other things that are a little bit more uplifting, that are kind of motivate you to do better things?
So go to church.
Yeah, go to
church. Go get that spiritual.
Even though church can sometimes be a little downing, depending on what scriptures are going on. But yeah, 100%.
No, I think you're right, Rohi. A lot of times, we tend to be too focused on what's really happening around the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we forget about the little things that we can do here locally that provide that uplift, right?
Yeah.
That help us, a sense of pride, community, just the little small things, little steps that we do, waking up in the morning and saying, I'm thankful for just having a roof over my head, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to have breakfast this morning. I'm going to see my kids go to school. I'm going to be able to go to my job. Regardless of what your situation is, I'm sure the mindset can certainly change on how positive outlook, right? And that's, I think, to your point.
Yeah.
So although global tensions may be far away and feel like they're far away, I can tell you that here in the Central Valley, it has those ripple effects. And from the rising gas prices, shifting markets, higher prices on foods and goods, I think we're going to see that. And we just wanted to make sure you guys are aware. Don't let this be a reactive deal. Be more proactive.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of went down the list of items that, or certain things that you can do to hunker down if, in fact, you start seeing these prices increase. But here at the Weekly Jargon, that's what we want to do. We're going off of experiences and stuff that we go through, and we hope that this informative updates help you. Rohi, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I would say just, this is, again, an opportunity. And I want to use that word, that with all of these things, there's going to be opportunity. Either opportunity to make money. So if you're business minded, you tell yourself, how can I maybe start a business? How can I do better in my business with these opportunities? And then opportunities also for maybe a change of lifestyle. Like you're saying, I like the part, when you're talking about like freezing food and doing these things, it's changing the mindset of preparation. It's telling myself I'm not going to buy that one sandwich for today and then buy the sandwich for tomorrow. It's realizing I have to eat all week, buying the meat for all week. Now it reduces my cost, everything, like I have more money, but those are changes that they're bigger. They take work, but by doing that, I think people will see themselves come out of this conflict in general in life much further ahead.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Rohi. And with that, we're going to go ahead and just call this a day. We want to say thank you for watching. Look forward to having you next week. Next week, we'll have our supervisor, Bobby McCauley, here from Madera County. He'll come down here to give us some updates on how the county's doing, maybe the state of the county, and provide us some updates. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Rohi and myself. Questions that you may have for the county supervisor, we'd like to, not necessarily corner him, but we're going to ask him a couple questions. I'm sure it'll be fun, but look forward.